Welcome to Yeshiva Dash, your sponsor, Louis Nishba Zam Yakashon, now Basitzchok. We're holding Sanhedrin Daf Kuf Beis. This is the Daf that we learned on Shabbos and reviewing now. So the Gemara goes on to say that we got to, in the previous Daf, to Kuf Beis of a few lines down. And we already hear in this story that Yeravam, because of his gaiva, he did not allow Am Yisrael to go to Yerushalayim. And we saw the people, he got tzaddikim to sign to do over the Zohar. So I saw a beautiful idea the Yaros Tavash brings that, what does it mean to do over the Zohar? Really, they signed Tzedachia Shiloimi, the Novi, signed in it. It says, going to Chutzarts is Kilo over the Zohar. And there's a thesis that says, if you go to the Chutzarts, you don't have to go to the regular. So the tzaddikim interpreted Yeravam that what he means to say, to do over the Zohar, not to actually do over the Zohar, but to go to Chutzarts, and that would be over the Zohar. That was the misinterpretation that they had. So now we're going to go on. The gears that we have is Dichtiv, but many of the first would agree it's a new thing. Ksiv, they did worse than me when Yeravam did not allow Yisrael to go to Yerushalayim. Said someone doesn't go to the regel, gets aseh. They said someone does go to the regel, he gets killed. So there, the counter to me was much worse than me, so to speak. No, this is a story that happened as Yeravam is being appointed to be king. So this kedai very much, especially for this daf, and it doesn't take a long time. Very, very kedai to open Melachim Aleph and learn from Perek Yud Aleph until the end. It's 11 prakim. It goes very quick. It's fascinating. It's like reading a Lahavdil Elf Avdos. It's like Ramos like reading a book. And the story that goes over there is after Yeravam gave Musar to Shlomo that we saw in the previous daf. Shlomo Melech felt that Yeravam was going to rebel. Shlomo Melech goes into the field, and the field over here he meets the Navi Achia Shlomo who tells him, "You're going to become king. God will take the kingdom from Shlomo Melech and from his son and divide it. 10 Shvatim will be under you, and 2 will stay by Malchus Beis David." The story goes that the Navi says Yeravam, Shlomo Melech wanted to punish Yeravam, so Yeravam ran away to Egypt. He waited until Shlomo Melech died, and then came the story, and then Rehoboam, the son of Shlomo Melech, became king, and then Yeravam comes back. So let's see this pasuk right now. The Gemara says, he sees him on his way. He's covered with new clothing. The first should discuss who's covered. Is it Achia or is it Yeravam? It says, what's Eis? It's Eis Mezul Peronis, because now Malchus Beis David will be divided. But it says regarding Yeshua they'll be punished. Beis, which Eis? Mezul Peronis. Beis Yotzon in Yisich, Tanim Shabisi, Eis Mezumez L'Toiva. Good Yotzon, I'm going to answer it. Will be important to Begati Chatos, Tanim Shabisi, Eis Mezul Peronis, the time of Cheta Egel Mezul Peronis. Problem is, Rashi says Tisha B'Av. So first we ask, what do you mean it's not Tisha B'Av? Cheta Egel happened at Shivos B'Tammuz. So one answer is that Rashi explains in the Chumash that Cheta Egel, the completion of the judgment of Cheta Egel happened in Cheta Meraglim, there was Tisha B'Av. So once the regular happened, now Cheta Egel becomes a severe punishment that we know. Also Pronos, because the kids of Yehuda dies, Rashi says, and the story of Tom. Shchem is a place where they tortured Dino. The Yosef was sold in Shchem, even though it's not exactly Shchem, but the first, because it says Dois, so the question is Dois is a place, so this just means that they were fighting with him. Shchem is where Malchus Beis David was divided. He left Yerushalayim. The Rashi says not going to do the avoid in Yerushalayim. And first we ask him, he was not a kohen. Want to fix the gears so not avoid the Yerushalayim, but Hadar Yerushalayim is not going to come to Elam Haba. It's not going to see Yerushalayim being built. Going back to the Psukim, we see him in the new clothing. What's Salach Hadosha? The Torah of Yerovam, he was the Gadol Ador b'Torah. Torah Acher, nobody heard it ever. And first we bring over here two ways to understand. Either pshat is that there's some Torah that somebody's mechadish in the world, so it's not new. And here it was Torah that nobody else thought about. And even more than that is brought down, that there's Torah that was revealed in Sira. This is even newer than that. There was such big chachamim, everybody else looked like grass in front of them. They know the time of Torah. So Yerovam was a tremendous Talmid Chacham. What does it mean? Killed the Plishti, killed Goyos. For you should come gas, give you gas. That new shaluchim, what are you going to remove his banav? So therefore you're going to be last Rashi on the right side of the page. You're denying Machibis David. So therefore, so you're going to be given to the grave. Now, the big question here is, I don't know, was it Nevuah? Achia Shiloim brought in Nevuah, the Yerovam has to become king. So what's going on here? So the Chidah says, and this is coming out from many of the Mefarshim, and Be'ez Hashem will be marich in this in the Shul Machshav and the Daf. But what he says is, what we need to know for this part is that Achia Shiloim, that even though HaKadosh Baruch Hu had a cheshbon, even though HaKadosh Baruch Hu had a cheshbon that Yerovam should be king, but it wasn't that he will be king on his own and it will be completely disconnected with David Melech. It was supposed to be that David Melech will be the main king and Yerovam will be the secondary. It will be like a kingdom within a kingdom. Not like it completely will be separated. The separation was the time of Eretz Yisrael, and this explains many other things in the Sugya. Says the Gemara, someone eats from this world without a bracha. He steals from Hashem without a bracha. He steals from Am Yisrael. He steals from his father and mother. He's a friend of Ish Mashkes. That's your father. Then you want to cast Yisrael. He is a friend of Yerovam who caused a big destruction in Am Yisrael. Here, so what's pshat? They're stealing from Am Yisrael, from Kosh Baruch Hu. He's taking without a bracha. Am Yisrael, he's moinei ad shefa. The Maggid Duvne has a beautiful mashal to this. He says, when I have a person who's a store selling on credit, once somebody takes on credit doesn't pay, so the store says I'm not selling on credit anymore. So not only he's stealing from the store, he's causing everybody else not to be able to buy on credit. So say to you, HaKadosh gives the world to us on credit. You do a bracha once you eat it. If you don't do a bracha, the shefa stops for everybody else as well. Did a big chet to Am Yisrael. Like two sticks that you throw in far. The Yad says you throw a stick in the air and then you hit another stick on it and it goes very far. You die. You give Am so much gold and silver. And so you get that causes to do with the Zohar. Mashal in Ari Dores Fenoim Tuchkubish Tevin. The lion doesn't roar when he eats straw. And Tuchkubish Shabbat he needs meat. He needs meat, he feels good about himself. Until then, they were punished for one egel, Egel Azov. Two of Yerovam made two egels, as we saw in the previous Amud, plus the one from before. All products that comes to the world has a little bit of egel. The chait has a little bit of chait egel. When was chait egel was taken? I mean, when that punishment came? After 24 generations, the more kirvu picked us a year. The ish kli mash chassav yodoi. And by Yechezkel it says Lo Shchasa. So it's when the instruction of Shemaim, Rashi goes on to say, to bring us a whole list, how Tzidkiyahu, the last generation, is 24 generations from Yechezkel. Then Yerovam did not do tshuva. What's after what? Hold Yerovam in his clothing, do tshuva. You, me, you, and Benisha will walk in Gan Eden. It's brought down in the first. What is the topic of Gan Eden? The Rebbe Chaim will talk about the joy of Gan Eden is being walking with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Who's going to be first? It's Benisha Baruch. David. I'm not interested. So first of all, a peep shot of Chaim Shlois brings over here Sichas Musar that this is a duke that many of them first should bring. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, Ani ato Benisha. Benisha is the third. But then he asked me Baroish, and then he lost it because of his question. And that's what made him not come there. His guy made him lose that position. But the Mice is so hard to understand how Kadosh Baruch Hu does this. But anyway, first you point out the sound that he hold him a big doy because that's the sound of Chadash. His Torah is protecting him. Give him a chance to do tshuva. We'll discuss in Shomach Shal Nadav the idea that is brought down by the Baal Mesivis in Emes Yaakov. He says, he says this was a machshava that Yerovam had for himself. It wasn't an actual talk. And this connects to a Baal Shem Tov brought down and told Yaakov Yosef that when a person has some feeling that he's doing something wrong, it's a Kadosh Baruch Hu talking to him. So Yerovam had some feeling. And then he thought to himself, okay, maybe I'll do tshuva. But then he said, one second, but probably David the Melech will be before me. So he went back. It was all in his mindset. He was dashed to the three malachim. He mentioned it. They don't have a long about cholosh. Got sick. He accepted himself the loy dorish. Not gonna do anymore. He became healthy. How the kadosh dash it again? I mean, look, he built a lot to dash it. Didn't you say not gonna accept it? They did tshuva. So I'm not doing tshuva. I'm not coming back. So first you point out that he got sick because it was like a tiny of the malachim. So once he was able to overcome them, he said, I'm not stopping the dash it. He also dashed 3 malachim. It says tomorrow we're going to learn tomorrow we're going to learn about our friend Menashe. Also Menashe is chazed b'chal. Menashe came in a dream. You think we're your friends? You think we're in your level? From when do you want to cut the bread? Where is the right bread to do a moitzi, to do the bracha? I'm going to learn that. I don't know. You don't know where to say Amoitzi and you tell us a friend? Only I really teach me. Tomorrow I'm going to say it in your name. Only where the crust gets hard first. So what's the idea of this question? First you bring it's big. The Maharal says it in his way. The Arzvash says it. The idea is that he says the same way when you do a brach on the crust, why? Because the crust gets heat first. It's the closest to the fire. And Mimeli can get burned first. We're at such a high level that our mistake is not at that high level. Not your friends, not your level. We're at such a high level. That's what Yitzhak is. I think more goes on and says, "Why did you do it with the Zara? Also, if you were there you would pick up your clothing and run not to have any yakin. You would have such a type of the Zara." So the next day he says, let's learn about our Rebbe Menashe. So Achov, next king that doesn't have a labo, Achov Shamayim, bad for the Shamayim, the Achov is Kachovim very close to the Zohar. Achov Shamayim Lichtiv, Achov saw Yulad. Achov is Kachovim Lichtiv, Kirachim Aval Bonim. Via Nekel Lichtov Bechadas Yerovam B'Novet. So Achov was a big Russia, a few generations after Yerovam, and he went in the way of Yerovam. The easy Chatoim that Achov did is the worst that Yerovam did. So why do you mention Achov like Yerovam? Yerovam is the one who started this trend. So every small hill in Eretz Yisrael, that Achov did not put the Zohar there. When on the last Islam does I know come to Rabo, the first discussing it means a dog, even a dog you get rid of it, or Tevechach, the Rashi says over here. There's a code to Rabbo. He's a father of Achov. Why do you get Malchus? He added a city to Etzor Shnimar. He bought the mountain. Because this became the capital of Yisrael. Why did he have 22 years the schus to be a king? He was mechabed the Torah. Shnema, Pashtar Malachim el Achov el Chisor le'iro, ve'el Kolmar ben Hadad kaspecho v'zavcho lihu v'nasheru b'necha toivim lihem ki'em ke'esmacha shlach es avdi alecho v'chimsu v'esecho v'beis odecho v'hakol malchei enecho yisimu b'yadom malakoch. So what happened over here? Comes the king of Aram, Hadad, with a huge army to conquer Israel. And Achov is there. So Achov says, what do you want from me? I'll give you whatever you want. My money, I'll give you my money. My wives, I'll give you my wives, my kids, everything. He said, I want Machman Denecho. So Machman Denecho, that we will see in a moment, he asked the nation, they said, don't give it. What is Machman Denecho? So the Gemara is going to explain. Go tell the king. I'll do whatever you tell me. I'm not going to do Machman Denecho. My Machman Denecho, do not want to give the Sefer of the king to Hadad, to Ben Hadad. So what? Maybe it is of the Zohar. Everybody in the nation agreed he should not get the Sefer Torah. Maybe it was bad skating. In the skating that advised Avishon to rebel against his father. It says the whole nation. Can't be there's not tzaddikim on there. There was 7,000 people that did not bow down to the Zohar. In fact, everybody told them these was a Sefer Torah. Everybody agreed Sefer Torah not to. The first we ask, why not? Because this is of course the fascist. We want to say that here was an act of war, and that's why we don't do it. Says the Gemara, Achov was a half and half. Tzaddik and Rosh. Shema v'yir Meshem miyifatis Achov v'yal v'yipol be'amois kilad. Paul says, who's going to convince Achov to go to this war, the war that he died in, the war we saw before earlier in the Masechta, that they send the arrow and they killed him. So who will do it? So there in Shemayim, there was different spirits that said, one's like this, one's like this. There was an argument, should we make Achov go to war and die? Meaning he was a half a tzaddik, half a Rosh. Says the Gemara, the one that says on him, there was nobody who sold himself to do bad in front of Hashem. That his wife Yizobel convinced him. Every day she used to weigh gold for the Zohar. You want to say it was half and half? He was giving up from his moment for the Chachamim. Because he gave the Chacham to enjoy his money, so they gave him kapar and half of his averis. Such a big Russia, he was zoiche half to be rectified, and that's why he was half and half. So the story of there goes on to what? That came the Nevi Yechezkel to Achov and told him to go to war. So saw earlier, all the Nevi'im were stabbed in the same way. They all said the same words. That was the simon that was the Nevi Yechezkel. And the Nevi said, no, you're going to go there, you're going to die. And he put him in jail, he was very upset at him. But all the Nevi'im said, you're going to come, the only Nevi Yechezkel said, you'll come back. Who's going to be that spirit that gives this Nevuah to the Nevi Yechezkel? So comes the Ruach, it says, I'll do it. How you do it? I'll be a sheker in the Nevi'im, by all the Nevi'im. Go ahead, go convince him, go persuade him. Say, well, my Ruach, what's the spirit? What's it, Nevois Israeli? Nevois Israeli had a vineyard next to Achav's palace. And Achav wanted the vineyard. He comes to the voice, he says, give me your palace. I'll pay you whatever you want. Said the voice, I don't want to sell it. He's like, it's my nachlo. And Achav got very upset. So his wicked wife, Yizobel, hears this. He says, I'll take care of it. She brings two witnesses to false testify that Nevois did a shvuah against Hashem and the king. And then they killed him. Once he killed him, he takes the vineyard. That was a big taina anachov. So that ruach of Nevi Israeli came to a bench. That's the ruach that went to be a Nevi Sheker b'fikol Neviov. Might say, what was it say? Leave my place. Liars should not be next to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The one whose prayer is kina, meaning he does the nekama, he can destroy his house. That's what happened over here with the ruach of Nevois. So the Gemara, he was the worst, more than anybody else before him. He wrote on the doors of Shomron, his Achov is rebelling against Hashem. I'm not so sure if the Lefika was written as well, or that's just the conclusion of what because he wrote that. Now the Gemara just dashed another thing. Another wicked king. They found him. He was hiding in Shomron. Why was he hiding in Shomron? He took away the names of Hashem and cemetery or whatever they are instead. So that's what he had to do in hiding because nobody will allow him to do it. That's how Russia he was. Now the Gemara mentions the last king we have in the Mishnah, Menashe, Shenosha Ko. He forgot Hashem, that's it's called Menashe. The Barak of Menashe, Shinshis Israel, La'avim Shema, which means he separated or made Am Yisrael forget Avim Shema. Ishkiach. I don't even know does it come to the world to come. Menashe became king in the age of 12. He was 55 years a king. And he did Avodah Zarah like Achov. The same Achov has no Chek Lo. So also Menashe has no Chek Lo because of the affairs that he did. And right away the Gemara brings, you see the next sentence, but we'll leave it for next half. We know Menashe yesh lo Chek Lo. So yeah, there was a. So he holds that he doesn't have Chek Lo. Meaning we have a big machlekes regarding Menashe that his tshuva was accepted as we'll see in the next half. But at this stage, the Gemara brings the drasha of Menashe not having Chek Lo because he's compared to Achov, who we know does not have Chelek L'Olam Haba. So we'll stop over here, and Be'ezah should continue for me on the next half.